of something going on, and they are trying to figure it out. So today morning they completed it, and that's the reason why I sent out an announcement saying that I'm going to extend. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually I was there. Yeah, fresh cut. So I'm going to extend the due date for NetLab. So NetLab should work now fine without any problems, and should work without any problems. I needed to do today, and I didn't want to do it at morning, but they already sent an email. The drop an ad, or not the drop an ad, what they call it, drop for non-attendance. So if you already did some activity, no, all of you are good. So anyone who did not do anything should be dropped automatically from the class. So you can see that I'm going to go to your class and start talking about chapter 16. Let me take attendance so quickly. So Edward here. Edward, nope. Sasha. Yeah.
Here.
Destiny.
Here.
Decker. And Alexandra. Yeah, Alexandra, are you here?
Here.
Okay. Nicholas.
Here.
Angela, or Angel, sorry. Angel Garcia.
I'm here.
Dylan.
Here.
Gonza.
Here.
Thank you. Did you get my email regarding the screen? Did you see it?
Which screen?
Send me an email regarding that you cannot read from the CMD.
Yes, the prompt is not not writing words as usually any screen do.
Yeah, so you can increase the font size, and I've sent you an email where how you can increase the font size and you can read. So just check your email.
I will try after we finish the.
Okay. Mason. Mason. I'm pronouncing it correctly. Ashley.
I'm here.
Julian.
Here.
William.
Here. Is that over here?
William.
Hello.
Yeah, I took you in. So I'm calling William now. Wesley.
Here.
And Python.
Here.
Good. How pronounce your name?
Peyton.
Peyton. Okay. So today we are going to talk about chapter 16. And we're still doing one chapter at a time. And we are in chapter 3. When we are going to have 2 weeks, we will stop in the middle. There's some lectures we have 2 weeks for each module. Now today we should talk about advanced in Windows, or advanced settings and advanced commands with Windows. And technically we will learn stuff that normally we don't do it with Windows. And what we had and so on. So technically, an overview, what we had new with Windows, and starting with. So Arial, which is the graphical interface or the feel or the rich colors, was introduced in Windows 7. Side-by-side Windows was introduced, is achieved in Windows 7, 8, 8.1, and 10. Just let me make sure that I have your list so I can. So you can hear me, right? I've already muted you. So how you achieve this, which is side by side. If you press on your keyboard, if you press on the Windows keys and you choose one of the sides, so I'm going to press on the Windows key on my keyboard and I'm going to choose the right hand side, and you will see how the screen will look like. Come on. Now I have half screen over here, and let me say I can bring this screen and I'm going to press on the Windows and I will choose the other side of the screen. And this is the half and half of what they are meaning with, or side by side. This is how you can divide your screen into, in order for you to see two windows at the same exact time. So you can write in Word and you can see the assignment instruction and so on. Metro UI, which is the tiled look that was introduced in 8, 8.1, and 10. Technically, this what they are talking about. That's the tile that they are talking about. That's what was introduced. This is the tile look, not the icon. OneDrive. OneDrive is one important thing if you use Windows, and you want to secure your files. I've worked for a couple of years with it, and technically the entire thing that I have, yes, I back it up on an external location, but technically this is OneDrive, and you can see everything over here. I list it, and I can manage where I can go. OneDrive is with any Microsoft account. You will have free OneDrive with any Microsoft account. So technically your FSCJ email is a Microsoft account, and that's why you have OneDrive. If you have Hotmail, Live, Outlook.com emails, you have OneDrive. And technically, it will give you 5 gigabytes, I think, which was much more enough for me for a couple of years. But now I'm backing up a lot of files on it and a lot of pictures on it. And that's why I needed to increase that size, and I purchased the 100 gigabyte. And 100 gigabyte a month, it was, guess what, $199. I think UAC, which is user account control, is a method was introduced also, which you can control the account that you're working with. A method used to notify you potentially security issues before anything is added or removed to the system. That's how you get a notification saying that file may contain virus, don't download it, or that file going to install something, don't you want to accept it or not. That's the user account control. What we have, Windows 8 has the introduction of Windows Store, and Windows Store is just like App Store or just like Android Store or Google Store, which technically is one way that Microsoft can control the application that you can install on the computer, rather than the old-fashioned way where you need to download the file, the executable file, or you bring a CD and install it. Now you don't have this. You can go to Windows Store and you can purchase something directly, and that's how they do another way to do money. Or you can find application that you can install it directly from the store. So technically there's something called Windows Store, and it's available for you to download a lot of things. Multi-monitor taskbar, and technically if you have the opportunity, and I will let you see the taskbar, I just want you to look on the taskbar over here. This is the taskbar. I'm going to switch you from one screen to another so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to switch you to screen number 1, and you can see how the taskbar is totally different than the one that I had. And technically, I have a taskbar that has the entire thing. Technically, the notification center. This is the notification area. This is the action center. Technically, you have notification in it, and so on. Let me switch you to monitor, the third monitor, which is my last monitor. And screen number 3, and now you are here where you can see that I've already opened something in technically the same exact taskbar that I have into my second screen, which the one that I always use when I cover classes. This is the one in the middle, and you can see it's the same. The taskbar started from screen number 1 all the way to multi-monitor taskbar. Charm, which was in Windows 8 8.1, when you take your pointer to the top right hand side and there's like something which is going to display a quick search, control panel, which is settings, start screen. There's 5 things. Forget. Display, provide quick access to search, share content, start screen, devices, and property settings. Yeah, settings. Windows RE, Windows Recovery Environment. That's one of the most important things that they added to Windows. And technically, before when Windows experience errors that will not let Windows run, that means you have an error that will stop Windows from loading. You will go into a repair section where they ask you for installable files or a CD that has Windows, and they try to repair the mistake that happened. But it didn't work well, and sometimes you need to format the entire thing, or you need to do something, or pull out an image, and technically you lose your setup, and you have to go to a full setup again. So Windows Recovery. And technically, what's Windows Recovery? It's where when something goes wrong and an error occurs that will prevent Windows from loading, you have Windows Recovery. Windows Recovery will help you to try to repair the file that was corrupted. Only the file that was corrupted or files that corrupted. If the repair don't work, they will ask you to have, if you have an image copy or a backup. And technically, they will try to load the corrupted file, the one that's load to the corrupted file, the original file. If it fails to recover, then it will tell you WinRE or Windows Recovery Environment failed to recover your Windows, and now you need to go into setup. So it's just one way or one extra application that they create to try to help in recovering some critical files for Windows to work. And we will see how we can manage this. Then we have the Hyper-V. Hyper-V is the application that Windows used to create virtual machine. Hyper-V in virtual machine, technically, you have one machine. The one machine has operating system and has the physical machine, which is the hardware. Virtual machine, you take part of that hardware and you assign it to a specific operating system, and you can divide your machine into multiple operating system or multiple VMs or multiple virtual machines where you can have a multiple Vs. Then we have Cortana. Cortana was introduced in Windows 10. I don't think I already activated Cortana or Hi Cortana. I'm not activated. It's not activated. You need to activate Cortana, by the way, and technically I don't. I'm not activating it at all for a lot of reasons. So that's Cortana. Now, what you need to do before you go ahead and install Windows. Now, most of us as normal users, they will have the Windows pre-installed to them. When you buy a computer from Best Buy, or when you buy a computer from Walmart, or you buy a laptop, you open the machine and immediately ask you for information, right? It will ask you for information, and you click next, 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 and you're done. And technically, you already passed the setup for the pre-installation, and you already passed the setup for installing and copying Windows files. So before even thinking to install Windows, what you want to have. And technically, let's read. Windows can be installed from either a central location using a network or from external drive. Technically, you may have a CD that has Windows on it, or just like how they install it from in businesses where they can locate it through a network and they can pull it. So any pre-installation of any type of operating system, you need to ask and decide for what you are going to use it and why you want to have it. So technically, if you have a friend who, and let me say you are the person who knows everything about computers, then you have a friend who said, I want to buy a computer, or I want to install Windows. I want to install operating system. You need to ask a couple of questions. You need to decide a number of things. So the person who's going to bring in and download and install Windows need to have in mind an important information. There's a number of things that you need to have in mind, or you need to do. And important thing, starting with step number 1, decide whether the installation will be an upgrade or clean install. Probably. Now, I don't know if you were like with computers when we switched from Windows 8 to Windows 10 and Windows 7 to Windows 10. We upgraded the operating systems. There's a lot of reasons why. And just to make it simple, whenever you want to add an operating system, especially the same exact company like Microsoft Windows and Microsoft Windows, you want to switch from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Now you need to ask yourself, I'm switching from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Why? What I need to do? Do I need to have a clean copy? That mean, or a clean installation? That mean I will go ahead and delete or format the entire drive, wipe it clean, and add on it operating system? Or I'm going just to upgrade and replace the operating system, the one that I have with a new one that's going to have more features. So decide whether the installation will be upgrade or clean install, and which version of operating system is being to be loaded. Take into account software application compatibility. Software application compatibility. We are talking about, does your operating system work with your machine? Or you have an application that works only on Windows XP and now you are installing Windows 10. Does this application, or will this application work on Windows 10? And that's what you need to have in mind before you go ahead and decide to, hey, let me go ahead and install Windows 10 because they just released it. I need to know if I have problems that's going to have with my Windows. So if I have a special application that I'm going to use, I need to check the vendor of that application and see if they have a version for Windows 10, or they can this application run on Windows 10. I need to decide whether the computer will have more than one operating system installed. Now we have dual operating system, and you can add more than one operating system. You can add 2 Windows if you want to, or you can, and this is not a virtual machine, by the way. It's one of them will work, and you need to choose which one you are going to let it run. Now, having dual operating system, not nice always, especially for like you have a lot of people who have Mac, and that part here, yeah. So especially for those who have Mac, and when they don't know how to use it, they will tell them, why don't you use Bootcamp? Use Bootcamp to load Windows on your Mac. Now, why I purchased Mac from the first place? Just to have, say I have Mac? If just to have Mac, then don't go ahead and pay the $1,500 or $1,700 so I can use Windows on it. No, if I want to use Mac, I will use the operating system. So, does decide whether the computer will have more than one operating system installed. Plan the partition, volume size, and files the file system we're going to use. Now let's stop over here. This is like really has 4 or 5 points at this point. Partitions. Most of us will click next, and complete the setup. Now you have one partition which is called C, right? Now I will ask myself, if I have 1 terabyte hard drive, why I'm having only one value, which is one partition, which is C with 1 terabyte. I can divide them into 2 partitions. The same exact hard drive. I can have 2 partitions. When I have 2 partitions, C and D, right this moment, if something happened to the Windows and I need to install a fresh copy, all files located on the D drive will be intact from any problems. I will install my Windows on C and that's it. I will lose C, I will not lose D drive. And that's when you decide or the plan for multi-value. Select the file system. Will you are going to use an NTFS, New Technology File System? If you don't know what the meaning of NTFS, New Technology File System, or you are going to use the FAT file system, or FAT16 or FAT32, which one you decide. Determine whether or not the hardware is compatible. This one of the biggest problem happens for us when we switch from when we had Windows 8 and Windows 10. Now, the problem is that Windows 7 can run on a 4 gigabyte because it will use 1 gigabyte of RAM and there's an extra 3 gigabytes. So that's why we had Windows to run on a 32-bit system processor. Do you have a question? Okay, just make sure that your mic is muted. I already muted everyone, but you're talking between you and the room, and I can hear you. So, determine whether or not your hardware is compatible. And here, we will see that when we had Windows 10 or Windows 8, we needed to switch to a processor that can accept more than 4 gigabytes. And technically, I think I did it in the first class when we calculated why 4 gigabytes of RAM. If you remember, I said if you take 2 to the power of 32, will give you a number, and that number is the maximum number that you can have it in into a 32-bit operating system. So 2 to the power of 32, and you can see this number if you divide 1024, divide 1024, and divide 1024, and you can see that we have 4 gigabytes of RAM, the maximum that the operating system can have. So if we want to let's clear out the memory. Come on. So if I have 2 to the power of 64, I will have a crazy number. So if I divide it by 1024 divided 1024. Now it's megabyte, and divided by 1024, that's gigabyte. And you can see the number. Let's go one more. Cannot be. Yeah, it's a crazy number. And that's where when I said that we will have a crazy number of RAM that can support the 64-bit operating system. So make sure your hardware can work on the operating system. You cannot use Windows 10 on 32-bit system, right? If you have a 32-bit operating processor, it will not run. So you need to make sure that your operating system can handle the hardware, or the hardware can handle the operating system. Before you go ahead and install anything, make sure that you have the drivers that you need to have for your hardware. Make sure that you have the upgrades for the drivers and or hardware replacement. If you must use that mouse, you must use that mouse, then I need to have, and my mouse will not work with my operating system. For example, I need to have a new one. Before you do anything, before doing anything relating to installing anything or upgrading anything, back up your data. If you have data on your computer, back it up. Save it into another location. Scan for viruses. The reason why you need to make sure that you don't have viruses on your machine, that you are going to turn off anti-malware during upgrade. If you are installing a new, that means you don't have any viruses. But if you do have viruses, especially when upgrading, and you are turning off the anti-malware, guess what? Viruses may sneak out. Now, when you have a laptop, you need to make sure that you have temporarily to disable any power management or disk management, which shut down the computer after a couple of minutes or seconds. Type of installation. When it comes to type of installation, we have a number of installations. Unintended installation, and that's when most of the time where you have a script that is already prepared. Systems, like for example, organization. Do you think that the technician will sit down and type all the information and type all the serial numbers and the network name, the entire thing? No. Technically, this is called unintended installation. Technically, they run the installation, they load a file that has all the answers for, which is secret, has all the answers for Windows questions, and just let it load. And whenever we have Windows, the answers will pop up. In place upgrades, and technically this is in Windows. Like if you are switching, upgrading, and technically you still have the files, the operating system working. An upgrade for existing operating system where the user keeps settings and files, such as moving from Windows 8 to Windows 8.1 or by moving to 10. Clean installation is an installation of an operating system that when no operating system is present, so technically I'm wiping out the entire thing. Repair installation, and technically this is the replacement of the Windows operating system when files have been corrupted or system won't boot properly. Multi-boot, 2 or more operating system on the same system. Remote network installation, this is a server and a network installation. Technically, you have your, okay, let me back up. When it comes to network and come to an organization, they have servers located online that has a lot of information. So what they do when they want to install a couple of computers, they will go to remotely and pull that installation. That's what they call it, remote network installation. And you are installing your operating system through a remote. Image deployment. This is what we did a couple of years ago. What I did a couple of years ago. I've worked with a couple of months in my life where I worked as technical support. And technical support where I work technically fixing computers and installing them and making sure that it's working fine and so on. So I have like 10, 20 computers to install every time. Do you know how much time it will take to install a system from scratch till fully installed? 1, 2 hours, 3 hours? Who knows? 2 hours. A minimum of 2 hours will take you. So do you think that I will sit down 2 hours working just next to the computer? No. So what I do, or what I did, is I'm going to install Windows on a machine that has the fully. I will load all applications that I want to have. I will load everything. So Windows is ready to go. Like, I will give it to the user. What I do, I will take an image. You can go and disk image from your control panel, and you will have a disk that has everything that you installed on your Windows. And take it and install it on another computer, and use the new code for the new computer, the license for Windows. And this is image deployment. You are going to apply image from one computer to another, and technically this is speed up a lot of things. Just let it run and complete it and done. Recovery partition or factory recovery partition. This is when you have a laptop and your laptop has a combination of keys that you are going to press. For example, Control F10 or F10 will take you to the recovery partition, in which the factory or the company that Dell or Sony or HP did put the copy of the image that they loaded on your machine. So technically, when you call that image, it's going to reset Windows to how the factory did install it, and that's what they call it, recovery partition. You cannot access it, you cannot see what happened inside it, but you can load it. Refresh and restore. Refresh is just in Windows 10 where it's going to remove all application, remove all files, and just have a fresh copy of Windows. In place upgrade or clean install. That one you need to decide. We already talked about it. What type of version you want, why you are upgrading, or why you want to have a clean copy. For example, you have Windows 10 and you are switching to Windows 10. Do I need to upgrade? Do I need to keep my files? Or when you have Windows 7 and you are switching to Windows 10, do I want to keep my files? If yes, do I have viruses? Do I have settings problems? I want to keep them. If I have problems, why am I upgrading? So I can install new and I have my files to be copied. But maybe I need to update or upgrade because I just want to use the same operating same settings. Windows Upgrade Advisor. This is a small application that they had it to be installed, where they need when you want to upgrade from one operating system to another. You can use Windows Upgrade Advisor, and where technically it will help you through the process of making sure that your computer can handle Windows 10, can recommend a lot of settings that to do or action to do. Easy Transfer and USMT. Easy Transfer program and the user state migration tool will help you to transfer data from one place to another. So this is where you want to copy files from one place to another, from one operating system to another. Compatibility mode. Keep in mind while upgrading that not all the 16 or 32-bit application can be used in the 64-bit Windows. That's why you can right-click on the program and run as administrator, or you can go to the control panel to the program properties and select the application and say run program made for previous version of Windows. Reason why: each operating system will have different way to execute orders, instructions, different way to execute instructions. And that's why a program made for Windows XP will not work on Windows 10. So you need to run it as a previous version of Windows. Virtual XP mode is of the program compatible with Windows and does not work only with Windows XP. You can have the virtual XP mode, that's an option in Windows 7, but is discontinued for the newer version of Windows. Virtual XP mode, which is also known as Windows XP mode, is an optional program that you can be downloaded and use it on Windows 10, so you can use Windows XP. Planning drive space, that's what I'm just mentioning. If you have 1 terabyte and your operating system can use 240 or 250, why I'm using the entire thing? I won't keep 500. NTFS, new technology file system, why I need to have it? Provide security, make more efficient use of cluster spaces, support full file compressions, support larger hard drive partition size, and include journaling, which helps rebuilding file system after crashes or power failure. Now we are using SSD a lot, and this half of it is I don't need. Type of partitions, how you want to divide it, and what the meaning of an NTFS, exFAT or FAT32. So let's go ahead. So partition type, we have the basic disk, which is the most common type of partition that can be containing primary partition, extended partition, and logical drives. Primary partition going to have a partition that can hold an operating system. If the operating system is used to boot the system, it must be the primary partition that is configured as an active partition. Extendable partition, a type of partition that allow hard drive subdivisions called logical partitions. Each logical partition, also called logical drive, is assigned a driver or drive letter and formatted for a specific file system, and you can use it for storage. MBR, which is master boot record partition table, which is the traditional type of partition that's used primary and extended partitions. Dynamic disk, which is a more advanced type of disk volume that supports simple, SPAN, stripped, and RAID. Redundant array of independent disks. Okay. RED stands for redundant array independent disks. So random array of independent disks. So you can have 2 hard drives and you combine them to create 1 drive. Or you can have 2 hard drives that are mirrored. So technically the content in hard A will equal to content on hard B. Or technically it's going to have hard A, B, C. So part of the data will be in hard A, the other part in hard C, and the other part in hard B, and so on. GPT, which is guide partition table, a more advanced type of partition that's required an EFI or EFI for easy BIOS, and allows partition size larger than 2 terabyte, and swap partition, which is in Linux. File system types. How many file system? That's based on each period of time. CTS133, which is the file system for optical drive or optical media. FAT, which is also called FAT16, used with all versions of Windows. 2 GB partition limit within all operating system. 4 GB partition limit with XP and higher. FAT32 supported with all Windows versions, commonly used with removable flash drive, support drivers up to 2 terabyte, can recognize volume greater than 32 gigabyte. EXFAT, commonly called FAT64, that's why you can hear me mentioning FAT16, FAT32, and FAT64. That's what I know. But FAT is FAT16 for me, FAT32, which is the one that I always mention, and also FAT64, which is EXFAT. So commonly called FAT64, a file system made for removable media such as flash driver, and SD cards. The extended drive size support up to 64 zettabyte in theory, although 512 terabyte is recommended max. NTFS, which stands for the New Technology File System, used with Windows 7, 8, and 10, support drivers or drives up to 16 extra byte, but the maximum practices can go to 16 terabytes. Support file compressions for file security, which is encryption. NTFS also faster for access and use hard drive space more efficiently, support individual files compressions, and has the best Windows file security. Hierarchical file system, HFS, which is used with Apple computers that have been upgraded to HFS Plus, and then later has been upgraded to APFS, which is Apple File System in 2017. Network File System, which is NFS, which is an open source file system developed by Sun Microsystems that found in Linux-based system, also access to remote files over a network. ext3 and ext4, which is extension, the third extension and the fourth extension, also known as the third file system, used with Linux-based operating system that support journaling file system, which means it can track changes in case of an operating system crash, allowing it to be restored with reloading. And technically, ext4 is just an upgrade on ext3. Hardware. And I will tell you the exact. This is Windows 7. What you see in front of you is true for Windows 7. So in Windows 7, you can have 1 gigahertz of processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM if you are using a 32-bit, or 2 gigabyte if you are using 64-bit. Support for graphic DirectX or higher with 1 WDDM, which we will talk about it later on, and hard drive space that's 16 gigabyte 32-bit and 20 gigabyte of a 64-bit. Technically, Windows 10 will require at least 4 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte just for the operating system. Drivers is how you can how the manufacturer will tell Windows how to deal with the hard drive or the hardware, and you must have it. Backing up before an operating system install, it's a must to secure your files and make sure that you don't lose any file. Security scans, which is make sure that you don't have any malwares on your computer before you go to a setup mode. Now we are going to go to the second step into the installation or upgrade of Windows. After completing all the pre-installation steps, you are ready to install Windows. The installation process is easy if you perform it, the pre-installation steps. The number one piece of advice is to do your installation upgrade research first. Doing so will greatly reduce the number of possible problems. Basically, the installation involves 3 phases, 3 or 2 restarts that you will have. Phase 1, which is an installation, sometimes called Windows pre-installation environment or Windows PE. So a selection must be made about whether to upgrade or perform a clean install. It will ask for the product key and must be entered. Ask for the time, date, region language settings and must be set, and basically hardware check. That's what most of us we don't see. However, after that, after the restart, the second phase will begin. During this process, partition to installing Windows can be chosen and setup files are copied to the partition. During the third phase, device are installed, the administrator password is being entered, the questions about Windows update and such are answered, and operating system is being created. I'm talking too fast? Good? Okay. I have only one camera open for one student. Otherwise, all of them turn off the cameras. I don't know why. Work group, home group. Now, one of them will be eliminated. I will forget which one. Work group you can configure. Okay, you must select one of them, home group or work group, in order for you to see other computers on the same exact network or the same exact group. Home group, you can configure Windows 7 for this type, but file and print sharing are not automatically enabled as they are with the Windows Home group. Note that Windows Home group is removed starting with Windows 10 version 1803, but you can still share files and folders across a small network. Home group, which is normally created in Windows 7, 8, and 10, home or small business environment that automatically turn on file and print sharing. Note that Windows computers with Windows 7 starter or home basic can join a home group but not start one. All Windows 7 and higher operating system can join the home group starting with Windows 10, 18, which is version 1803. Windows 10 no longer support home group as a network choice, but you can still share files across the network. A domain. Let's stop over here. I don't know if you already went to FSCJ and logged in to their computer. Next time you go to FSCJ and you use your student ID and password, just remember underneath it what you'll see. It will say student, all uppercase. Now that's your domain, students. My domain is totally different than yours. So in order for me to use the computers for you, the one that students sit on, I need to switch domains in order for me to access the network. So there's something called organizational unit. That's the OU. If you read through the technical support job release, they say an experience with OU, organization unit. That's what it stands for. So they want someone who can create domains, link users to these groups and to the domains, and make sure that it's organized. A corporate environment in which users authenticated with centralized user ID and password, whatever machine the user goes to, the user and password would be the same if the computer has been configured to be used on the same exact domain. Checking how many slides we still have. Oh my god! Yeah, I will let you see something. We are on 16.4 and we still have to go until 16.39. So we have a lot. So, corporate Windows deployment. And technically that's when I said we can use, let's read through it. Corporate computer installation are much more involved than any other type of deployment. Computers are installed in bulk instead of one at a time. As in home or small business, the computers are frequently the same model and have the same software installed. Disk images is common in corporate environment, as I mentioned. A disk imaging software make it an exact copy of binary code, copy of files loaded on the hard drive. The copy is then press to an optical drive or external drive or put on the network so it can be copied to other computers when other computer has an issue. It is faster to just re-image the computer than to troubleshoot a Windows problem. Computers or companies need automated installation tools help them with corporate Windows deployment process tools, and as you can see, can help with this are the Windows assessment and deployment kit, Windows system preparation, imaging software such as Symantec, a corporation Ghost program, and so on. We have different type of tools we can use. As I mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. Verifying the install or the installation. If any upgrade or installation you need to verify the upgrade is successful. There's no critical errors has been happened. It's so important to make sure that the installation is being successful, complete. No errors during the setup, no missing files, otherwise you'll have corrupted file later on. After an upgrade has been done, verify that all applications still function, check them one after one. After a new installation has been completed, ensure that all installed hardware is detected by your device manager. We'll come to it and how we can check that. Troubleshooting a Windows installation. What we have errors. Below you can see a list of errors that may show up and what you need to do. No boot device available. You need to make sure that to access BIOS. You know BIOS, right? No one knows BIOS? Who remember BIOS? Which chapter it was? Yeah. Cut yourself. Who remember what's the BIOS stands for? Come on, Google it. Basic input and output system. You need to have BIOS in order for you to set the access to the bootable device. Access BIOS and update the bootable order to make sure that you went to the device that has a bootable bootable device. Incompatible hardware drivers. Obtain the drivers that are appropriate to your Windows. Incompatible application obtains the upgrade from your manufacturer or vendor. Minimum hardware requirements have not been met, so technically your CPU or RAM cannot install Windows. A virus is present during the installation. If the installation detects a virus, it will not let it complete. Antivirus is still active and on, and halting the installation upgrade, so you need to disable your anti-malware. Pre-install step have not been completed. Go back and check them which one you did not complete. The installation disk or download is corrupted. Make sure that you have a clean one. Incorrect registration key. Make sure that you have the correct one from your email or your disk. Windows installation process cannot find a hard drive. That's one of the biggest problems. Make sure this is the most likely due to SATA drive being used and or driver not being available for controller. Download the driver, put it on a flash drive, and use a software program such as NT-Lite to create custom installation disks that include the downloaded drive. A stop message occurs when installation multi-boot. Make sure which one boot from the Windows installation disk rather than the operating system, the other operating system. The computer locks up during setup and show a blue screen of death. You remember this? Yeah, it's nice. Blue screen of death. Blue screen. The one that has like numbers in it. This is the blue screen of death. Blue screen of death will give you a number. If you're fast enough, if it has like some of them like disappear immediately. If you're fast enough, take a picture, take that number and put it on Google. Make sure what's the number is about. Or you need to find check what's the blue screen giving you. Incompatible BIOS, obtain capable BIOS or replace the motherboard within one that has compatible BIOS. BIOS need to be upgraded. Upgrade the BIOS or EFI. Upgrading BIOS is not an easy step. It's really hard. It's really one mistake. Your operating system, your drive, your motherboard, frying. I upgraded BIOS before. You got an NTLDR is missing error. If the NTLDR is missing error in Windows 10 or 8 during the installation process, try to clean the clean install process over again. A message appears during setup that the device driver was unable to load. Obtain the latest version or latest update for Windows driver or the driver that you have. After upgrade, Windows freezes. Boot into the save mode. And I will tell you, each one we will do it. Boot into save mode and check device manager to see which thing happened. I always, whenever I have problems and I need to boot into save mode, I will take step by step to enable stuff to make sure which one will stop, and I will check. Reloading Windows. Lesson 14, introduced to operating system, has a section called recovering the Windows operating system that help when is the situation if no operating system found. This section provides a few more technical suggestions for such situation. Technically, tell you why and what you need to do to boot or repair an installation. As I mentioned, WinRE will try to recover Windows, but if you don't have having an error now, you need to repair Windows. Windows updates. Windows updates now it's being automatically enabled by default. Yes. So almost daily, new vulnerabilities are found in every operating system. Windows has made the method which is called Windows Update or automatic updates for upgrading the operating system, not to another version, but just updating the operating system when they have a security patch has been occurred. To configure Windows 7 and 8, you must enable updates, not like Windows 10, which is automatically updates enabled. Technically, this is the steps how you can go to the control panel and update them. And that's one of the reasons why we had the ransomware that hit a lot of computers around the world, because Windows found a problem and sent out a security patch to it, and no one updated. That's why in Windows 10, they were automatically enabled. Windows 7 and 8 control panel setting has 4 options: install updates automatically, download update, but let me choose whether to install them, check for updates, but let me choose whether to download or install, never check for updates. Technically, Windows sends automatic, everything automatic, and they will send updates. Backing up the Windows registry and data. Windows registry, just like a database that contains information about Windows environment, including installed hardware, installed software, and users. The registry should be backed up whenever the computer is fully functional and when any software or hardware are made changes has been made. The registry can be backed up and stored several ways. You can use the regedit program using the backup utility in Windows 7 and use the system restore tool covered in later. The regedit enables you to export the registry to a file that has extension .reg. The file can be imported back into the computer if computer failed. The regedit program and the backup utility both back up the entire registry. Configuring Windows overview. That's Windows 8, 10. Let's see what's going on. One of the Windows technician use most commonly is the control panel window. A control panel allows you to configure various component. Each control panel icon represents a Windows utility that customize practical part of Windows environment. The number of control panel displayed depends on the type of and computer component contained in which computer. And you can see it has a control panel. If you click over here, you will go to the settings. Just like this. This is the settings. Configuring. Windows technician must frequently interact with operating system when adding new hardware and software. Windows has specific tools for these functions. Using the correct procedures is essential for success. The following section highlight tasks that technicians commonly perform: adding devices, removing hardware component, adding a printer, and installing and removing software. So you need to know exactly where to go and how to remove the software by using the control panel, not deleting the icon. Okay, adding a device. Now, whenever you want to, I'm going to go through what I remember, then I will go through the list. In order for you to add a device, number one, turn off your computer. Open the computer if necessary. Add a device. Put it back. Add the device. Secure it. Put it back. Power on the machine. And install the driver. Now, if you use USB, now you don't need to turn off the machine. You just put back the plug in and install the driver. So technicians are constantly adding devices to computers. Many devices today are plug and play, which is USB. Devices that are designed to automatically be recognized by the operating system. Devices that use USB, eSATA-P, Thunderbolt, and IEEE 1394 can be added or removed with power applied. Device and printers control panel utility. The devices and printers control utility is used to view, install, and remove and manage wired and wireless devices, such as mice, multimedia devices, printers, and speakers, if you have them. Device manager, which is technically will give you the opportunity to see all devices connected to your computer. Devices that are recognized or at least sensed by the operating system are shown in the device manager utility, which is this one. Device manager is a technician best friend when it comes to adding and troubleshooting devices on a Windows computer. That's the device manager. Checking out certifications. Audio devices. Device manager can also help when troubleshooting sound, locate and export the sound, video, game controls, category, verify that the sound card or integrated sound processor is shown. Right click on, tap on briefly, hold the sound card, select properties, verify the device status, say working, recognize it working. Disable display settings, which is video related to settings. Now we have a bunch of them. We have the adjust resolution. A resolution is the number of pixels shown in a PC. You know what's the pixel? Okay. Remember when we were like small kids? We had this big TV. You remember that big TV that we had in homes for years? You remember when we stuck our face to that TV? We will see a square that has 3 colors. That's a pixel. Now, these days, the 4K, that means they have 4,000 pixel. Right this moment, we're say 1920 by 1080. So we have in 1900 pixel through the width and 1008 pixel through the height, and you can do the math to calculate how many pixels in this screen. That's that just resolution. Advanced display settings, refresh rates, which is technically how much we refresh each second. If you remember, and always I will say if you remember when we were kids, because we saw them. If you remember when we were kids and we had a camcorder camera, and someone goes to the TV by any mistake, you can see there's like black line that's a refresh rate. So technically before it was so slow, now it's so fast. That's the color depth. Calibrate color, change display settings, and clear type text, and so on. All of that's related to device. Now this is how the steps that you're going to manually install a device. Open device manager utility, expand categories as needed to locate the driver which the driver is not is being able to install. To display hidden driver, I know. You will ask me how to do it. Do it on your own, on your own risk. Just teaching you. Do you see these? I have errors with them. View, show hidden devices. View, show hidden devices. You will see all devices that are hidden. See, I have two TVs connected to my network. Right click on the device name and select update driver or software. Select the browser computer for driver software. Select let me pick from a list of device drivers on a computer and select have disk, and then you go through the steps of having disk. If you have an old device, you can go here and say run a program, and that's when you have a problem, not with device but with software. Right click on it, go to properties, go to compatibility, and run as in a different mode, and you can choose any mode of Windows that you can run this application with. How you can remove or install a software. Installing a software is easy. It's just going through the process. But removing a software, you must go to settings, and you go to what's that? Apps, and over here you can choose any application and just uninstall it. Okay. So, because if you delete the file folder, you did not uninstall it, and now you just created more problems for yourself. Programs and features. Programs and features will add more stuff to Windows. Let me go back. Apps, programs and features. You see it over here. So technically, these are the programs and features, and I can turn on features on Windows or off, and I can add stuff. Come on. It's showing up in one screen, and I don't know where it's showing up. Yeah, I told you it's on one screen. So I can choose whether I want to have to switch my computer into PowerShell. Data Explorer. I don't have this service. Ah, it's over here. I can see it. can just add this, and now I can have a local machine on my computer. I can have websites to host it on my computer. So worldwide services, web management tools, I can add. It's all of that from those features. Just I mentioned. And install anyone that you don't like. Computer Management Console, if you go to Run, you can go to Run by Windows and R. Run. You just put MMC. Yep. MMC will pull out this. This is MMC, Microsoft Management Console. Okay, now we are going to talk more advanced. Microsoft Management Console holds snaps in, which are tools that are used to maintain a computer. Open this tool by using the MMC command, or by going to Run and just type MMC. We'll bring you MMC, where you can manage console with computer management. Let me see. This is another tool. If you write over here, computer management application, which is, come on. Now this is a computer management. These things that you see in front of you are brand new to you. This is the first time that you are going to use it. You know why? Why you are going to use this? If this is the first time, you know. We are preparing you to become a technician. We are preparing you to become a technician. Now, you have control panel, you have Microsoft Management Console, and you have computer management, right? It's also places where you can manage the disk. You can work what you have. Technically, I need to add one. You can go to the device management, performance, and see reports about your computer, local users, shared folders, a lot of things. So, the Microsoft Management Console with the Computer Management Console is the mother, ideal of technical tools for IT technician. So you remember one thing: if I ask you to do anything related to hard drives or drive, to delete a drive or add a drive, just like your exams will ask you to do, you need to go to computer management and go to the device or hard drive and manage it from there. Disk management. Okay, that's your example. Skip. Okay, system tools. Yeah, fast, right? Task scheduler is located in the, let's bring it up, computer management. Computer management, you will find task scheduler. Where's this? Computer management, task scheduler, do you see? If you have a question, ask you to schedule a specific task at a specific time, task management, task scheduler. You come here, you schedule the task at the time that you want to schedule. Event viewer, if I ask you, and the exam asks you, what is the last recorded event, you find it over here, which is in the task scheduler, where you can, not the task scheduler, the computer management, underneath the task scheduler, you can see events. But we have more. Logs, system logs, we can find it in the events. How many logs we have? We have Windows logs, and we have application and services logs. Windows logs is going to have applications, security setup system, and forwarded events, and application, which is a vendor specific. A lowercase I, which is information, Exclamation point, which is warning, X, which is error, yellow key, success, audit, and yellow lock going to be failure audit. So each one will mean something. Shared folder, which is the third one in the computer management. Shared folder will hold information about folders that are shared across the file. Account management. User account management is in a Windows an important function for technician and involves creating accounts. So if you go to now that the settings, not this one. Accounts, settings, accounts. You can find accounts over here. That's me 70 years ago. So you can find information about your account, accounts and emails and so on. I don't want to show them. But you will find over here really credential management and credential management where you want to store Windows login and credentials. This is the credential management. You have a lot of things that you can have. So how we can find it, this is through settings. Everything about over here is the let's see. Computer management. So over here we have users and groups. I can work on them from here, from the computer user management. What we have, you can use a lot of things like account recovery and account management. How many users you have on your computer, what they're logged in, and so on. UAC, which is user account control, which is the administrator and standard user account control are affected by the features in Windows called user account control. UAC works with Internet Explorer, Edge, Windows Defender, and parental control to provide high-tint awareness of security issues. Don't believe them. That's the user account control, the one that I just showed you. Device managers. If you go to device managers over here, you can see the device manager, and you can go to any driver. You can see where the driver of this device is not installed. There are no compatible driver for this device that defined and You can click on update. Managing storage, which is disk management over here. If your exam will ask you to delete one, I think, and create. Okay. You have 2 gigabytes, and by 2 gigabytes, they want you to create 4 gigabytes on disk. So delete 2 and create 1. And you can completely manage. Why I'm skipping, by the way, you are going to do these labs. So with UCertify and also NetLab, you are going to do these labs. So that's why you find me some places skipping. I'm just telling you where to go to find it. And over there you can try to do whatever you like. So the task that you can do with the device manager, you can mounting, which is map an empty folder on an NTFS volume by right-click and on appropriate partition or volume and change driver letter or and path. Initializing, which is make driver available to be used by right-clicking and initialize disk, extended partition, which is increasing the size, splitting partition, which is dividing space on a hard drive, shrink partition, which is decrease the size, assigning, changing letters if you need to, assigning, changing letter, adding a drive if I need to, and adding an array if I need to. These are disk management, what you need to do, clean manager, which is disk cleaner, which is technically is a process to utility for Windows to clean up and free up some space on your hard drive. Defragment is one of the best things that you can do to, or you can use check desk in a command, and you can bring up disk defragment or defrag, which is a defragment to organize and free up some space on your hard drive. Managing services and application, that's a different story. If you go to the task manager, you go to services, open services, and you can see all list of services. And these are the services where you can right click and start it, stop it, pause it, resume it, or restart it. So you can go and check any services where you can choose it. I found services by when I go to task manager services, and over there you find open services. Data sources, this is open database connectivity, ODPC, which is a programming interface to enable application to access data from a database. The database source administrative tool to select which practical application drive is associated with the practical type of file. So technically, we'll tell you Excel will use XLS, Microsoft Word going to use DOC and DOCX, and so that will be it. Print management console, if you just put in the command or in the run print management, this will show up and technically will show all your printers and will tell you everything about the printers and how you can manage them. It's not the same place as adding or removing printer. Overview of Windows boot process. We have a computer that would, after executable, the power on self-test, which is paused, which is say the moment that you press on the power, you will go to the pause, which is power on self-test. Computer will look to an operating system. The Windows operating system can be loaded using several boot methods, and you may have to use the alternative boot method to solve a problem. An alternative hard drive partition on an internal fixed disk that could be a hard drive or a solid state drive, an optical drive, external hard drive, and a network boot. You have an alternative method where you can switch between boot. How every operating system needs specific files that allow the computer to boot. These files known as file system. For startup files, Windows does following the four phases. Pre-boot, which is the BIOS and EFI, controls the process of looking, finding, and allowing the operating system to load. Windows Boot Manager, bootmgr.exe, locate and execute Windows Loader, winloader.exe, from the boot partition volume. Windows Operating System Loader, some drivers that are needed by Windows kernel, then Windows Operating System kernel, which is NTOSKRNL.exe, which is the one that you need to have the Windows to load. Speeding up the boot process. There's a number of things that you can speed up the boot process, starting with configure BIOS EFI boot option so that the driver used to boot Windows is listed the first one, so don't look. Configure BIOS or EFI that the fast boot option or disable hardware check. If multi-operating system are installed, use the msconfig utility boot to reduce the boot menu timeout volume. Remove unnecessary startup application using the msconfig. If you just type into run msconfig system configuration, boot, and or startup services, and you can turn it off. Here you can find it. Remove unnecessary from msconfig. Have available hard disk space and keep the drive defragment. Disable unused or unnecessary hardware by using device manager. Use Windows Ready Boost to cache some startup files. And use administrative tools located in control panel, access services, and change services so it can load faster. Troubleshooting the Windows boot process. What you need to do in order for you to troubleshoot a process. Check the BIOS settings to ensure that the boot order is correct. Remove the power cord and leave the computer powered down for 1 or 2 minutes. You also may need to remove the battery inside if you need to reset the BIOS. Disconnect unnecessary peripherals. That's when you have a problem that your Windows is not loading. Okay. Now, Mason, I can see that you have an internet connectivity issue. I have a sign on your name. Okay, I will let you see. You send me a chat where say you cannot hear, but do you see this? Anyone? All of you can hear me without any problems?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have only one student having problems. Okay, that's complete. Troubleshooting the boot process where Windows will not load a failure to boot is sometimes easier than troubleshooting other problems. You need to check the BIOS to make sure that the order of the boot order is correct. Remove the power. Sometimes you need to disconnect the battery inside. Disconnect unnecessary peripherals. If you haven't added a lot of things on your computer, disconnect them to make sure that and load your Windows with the basics. So don't add a lot of things. Let Windows attempt to repair the computer. Determine the last thing that was done before the computer refused to boot, like Windows Update or something. If Windows 8 is used, use the refresh your PC. If Windows 10 is used, reset this PC. Boot into save mode and take one step at a time to make sure that what's going on. Use the last known good configuration option and the advanced boot option. You will do a lot of things. Okay. Black screen video issues. Windows is not supposed to hang during the boot process because of a video driver incompatibility. Instead, the operating system loads a default video driver if video is a problem while working in Windows. That is, if you get a black screen or blank screen. Check your Windows power and cable and try booting. What the meaning of this? Windows with all drivers will have the basic, can run the device, but not in full configuration. And that what you need is just to have the driver for it. So sometimes when you have a new graphic card installed, and you put it, it will work, but you don't have all the resolution in it until you put the device driver. To save boot and booting time into saving, okay, to save time booting into save mode, you could use the system configuration MS-config tool, boot tab, and enable a base video checkbox to OK, or you can just check into save mode and you can boot save mode from here easily. Recovery console, I hope that you don't see it, the screen in your computer, but this is the recovery console. That's where it asks you to system restore, system image recovery, startup repair, or command prompt or startup settings. And these are the settings available for you to go through the steps of advanced repair. Advanced boot options, startup settings menu. What you have the save mode with networking, save mode with command prompt. Which one you want? You by itself, just the save mode, just the minimum requirement for the operating system to run. Save mode with networking, so you can use the internet. Save mode with command prompt, so you can use the CMD. Enable low resolution video. Last known good configuration. Debugging mode. Enable bootloader. All of these settings that you can choose into the boot advanced, where you can load into and save your system configuration utility. System configuration MS-config system configuration utility. If you press on the button, the Windows key, and press R, the run will start. Just type MS-config, this will show up. And you can choose which one you want. General, boot, services, startup, and tools. And you can choose a lot of things over here. And by the way, over here you can decrease the timeout time. You can even go to more things. Let me see. Oh, no, this one. So boot, advanced option, number of processes. So technically, when the boot option, Windows decide to take the number of processes automatically. But you can say, I want to have, rather than one processor or two processors, I can have all 8 of my core processors to work at the same exact time. So it will speed up the process. I can use the maximum memory. Technically, I don't want to set the maximum memory because I have really good memory. But I can set it up over here. What is the core I want to use, and it will speed up the process. I can boot into save mode. I can no GUI boot log, and whatever I want, and I apply, then I restart my Windows, and then ta-da! This is the advanced where I can choose the number of processes. You can remove this where it says maximum. You can load 2 GB or 3 GB. You can use any number you like. Services enabled, you can stop it or run it or disable all not by Windows, and you can enable all. It's back to you. This is MS-config. Task Manager, if you right click on the taskbar, go to Task Manager, you will see Task Manager. So you see the CPU, the memory usage, the disk usage, the network usage. I have a GPU, which is graphical processing processing unit. I'm using 10% of it. Power usage and all of that, because I have really crazy computer. So you can have some of this. Performance, you can see the usage of my. Technically, I'm using 9 GB right this moment from my 24. I have 24 GB. I'm using only 9. So let's see which crazy thing is being used. So go to applicate. Oh yeah, processes. So which one is really using a lot? You go to memory. Like for example, right this moment I have Firefox using almost gigabyte, and this meeting is using 300. But if I go to CPU, it's taking the most of the CPU. GPU, yeah, it's using a lot of graphical user. So task manager, right click on the taskbar and go to the task manager, you'll see this. And over here you have processes, performance, app history, startup, users, detailed services where you can stop or kill what we call kill a task or kill a process. Now you need to know one thing. You have a process, parent process, and child process. If you killed or stop the main task, the parent of process, all sub-processes will stop. If you are stopping the entire thing, one of them, that specific thing that you stop, going to stop. That's the performance, and so on. Let's see what we have. Troubleshoot. Services that does not start. What you need to go, you go to the services, and how you can find services. You can find services by going to task manager, it's easy way, services, and open services, or just type in services. And this will go. Any problem happening with the services, you can load it and see what it is and what to stop it and do whatever you like to do. I don't want to do anything crazy because I don't want to have the computer stops. Next time when the computer restart, the application will take the settings. Slow boot. Whenever the problem of a slow boot is reported to you, several issues could be collaborated. The operating system could be running slowly. The hard drive could be locking free space, and through there may be too many startup applications and things that you need to do to remove the slowness from the startup. Troubleshooting Windows network. The first thing that you need to see that your configuration of the network. So if you go to CMD and type ipconfig if you're using Windows, or ifconfig if you're using Linux, and you'll see the configuration. If there's no configuration now, just make sure that to obtain this automatically, if you require to have an IP address now, you need to have the configuration over here. Some problems can occur, and rebooting or reboot can't fix a lot of things. Let's read. Some of the hardest problems to solve are intermediate problems, and when Windows reboot spontaneously or shut down, a lot of different things could be causing. This is when your Windows automatically reboots. That means something that's affecting on the computer that's let it stop. And now you need to go to the BIOS and see what's going on. If you have a log into your BIOS, or maybe your CPU is failing. Shutdown problem. Sometimes you give your computer a shutdown and keep shutting out. That means there's a task that prevent or halt the computer from shutting down. You need to end that task and shut it down. Power management. If you have a laptop, now you have a power management, and you can choose between balance, power saver, and high performance. Monitoring system performance. That's how you monitor your system performance. Technically, you go to performance and see what's going on. Right this moment, I have a lot of usage in my CPU because I'm recording everything as I talk, and I'm using internet a lot. There's a lot of usage on the disk drive, and a lot of usage of the graphical user or the graphic processing unit. That's my GeForce that I use. Use Task Manager to measure performance. That's where I just went. Virtual memory. Now, that's kind of another place where you can go to add more space to use a virtual memory. Now, a virtual memory can replace your RAM? No. But what's the virtual memory is a place where all waiting processes can wait over there, not in the RAM, but wait in the swap drive until it's being called to be processed. That's the virtual memory. Can you increase it? Yes, you can increase it. How you can increase it? I forget. System section, control panel, system protection, advanced performance settings. Let me see. Can I go from here? Not from here. Let's see. I do know exactly. There's no way. That's let's see if I can virtual memory. I forget from where. I need to see from where. This is an only configure page. That's a different place. I totally forget. Oh. Nope. I'm not remembering. I don't want to waste your time. That's the performance monitor. If you go to performance monitor, you can monitor a specific. A performance monitor will help you when you have a problem and you want to detect it on a long run. This is a resources monitor. If you go here, computer management, you will find performance monitor, and you can go into it and put a task, and it's going to monitor that thing that you are going to put. It will overhear a lot of things. This is performance monitor. Resources monitor is a different place. If you go to task manager, open resources monitor, this will show up. This will show up. This is the resource monitor. We have this is the reliability of Windows, telling you what's going on if you have any problems. Supporting Windows computers remotely. Most of us will work remotely with computers rather than being physical. Windows provide two products for accessing a PC remotely. We have the remote desktop and remote assistant. Both produce allow a computer to be accessed remotely. The difference that remote assistant display a prompt to the remote computer asking permission to allow the computer to be viewed remotely. Remote desktop connection does not display this prompt. using a remote desktop, or use the MSTC command require the following elements. To have a remote computer must be in some of the network connectivity. The computer, or the same network connectivity, the computer used to access the remote computer must run at least Windows 7. Any firewall between the two computers need to be allowed. The remote PC must have a remote desktop application installed, and you need to have the computer name or remote PC, and you need to have the user account and password. And by the way, this is one of the things that you are going to do in your lab. Preventive maintenance on your operating system. Now, most of us use computers and leave it without caring about it and don't think about it. You must maintain and you must run, clean up disk and disk defragment between now and then. You need to run antivirus between now and then to prevent from issues. Your operating system is a key component of working system. Preventive maintenance can help avoid issues and reduce downtime when properly applied. No application or hardware can work without an operating system. It is important that you keep the operating system healthy. The following suggestion can help. Always have an anti-malware, let me call it. I don't want to call it antivirus. Anti-malware software program that has accurate current virus definitions. Make frequent data backups. Have a backup of your operating system, especially externally. Ensure that the system's restore utility is enabled. Update the operating system with service packs, and use a task scheduler to automate some of the preventive maintenance. Questions? Questions? Good. No questions. Then see you next week. Let me stop.